my degree was in business administration. And I really thought that once I graduated, I was going to go into the private sector and work, or go back and work with my dad as an electrician and try and blow up that business. And then I was asked by the head coach at that time, Dan Devine, to stay on as a graduate assistant, and then he promoted me to full-time coach. So I didn't aspire to be a coach. I kind of fell into it because of a relationship. The same thing happened when Dan Devine retired. I was going to go get my MBA, and I met a gentleman from Oak Brook, Illinois, who was the regional sales manager for IBM in the 80s. And he convinced me that going to IBM training was equivalent to getting your MBA. And in 1981, that was true. So I went to IBM, sold computers for a couple of years. I learned a whole lot about myself and about business and things of that nature. And but my heart wasn't in it. And I kind of shared that with some different people. And it ultimately got to a gentleman by the name of Paul Schultz. He was a coach at Notre Dame when I was a player, and he had become the athletic director at Eastern Michigan University. And he was looking for an associate athletic director, someone with business background, someone that understood football, and someone that would be loyal to him. And he convinced me to leave the money at IBM, which, was a lot of, and start over in athletic administration. And basically, he taught me the business. I'm forever indebted to him. God bless him. He's passed away, but I'm forever indebted to him because I found a career, not a job. He taught me the business. He retired. They had me as interim for a while, and then they promoted me to full time. And so that's how I found my career path. I was blessed because of relationships. I learned so much at Eastern Michigan. I am so indebted to that experience. And it was really at Iowa State that I became really focused on making sure we, in our industry, we had developmental opportunities for people who look like me, and actually women as well. I was fortunate to establish a relationship with a gentleman by the name of Mike Cleary, who headed up NACDA, our National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics. And for some reason, when I was at Eastern Michigan, he really pulled me in and involved me in different committees and programming and things of that nature. And I learned a lot because of him by listening to some of the icons in athletic administration. And so I knew that that was a blessing for me. And so what I tried to do, particularly when I went to Iowa State, was try and identify young people who look like me and women, and try and put them in that situation, use my sphere of influence to help them be involved and ultimately develop programs. And then when I went to Arizona State, became even more of a program. We had an unbelievable program with some of my colleagues across the country where we would bring together the top Black administrators and try and have a 2.5-day session on development for them. And so we really became more intentional. And then during my time as well, I became more intentional in my hiring practices to make sure we had diversity in our athletic department, particularly here at Ohio State. Interviews are like a beauty contest. The more you do it, the better you look. And so you have to learn. Just because you get offered a job doesn't mean you have to accept it. But put yourself in position to say yes or no. And so I'm a big believer in that. Any of my teammates that come to me and say, "Hey, I'm looking at this. I have an opportunity to be interviewed," I tell them to go for it. There's a lot of people that I didn't want to lose from my team. But if you care about them and what they aspire to do, then you got to help them.
Well, I look at just when you look at the totality of his career and specifically from the AD chair, and nurturing and mentoring and putting future athletic directors into the industry. Just in when you look at his time at Ohio State, you have, not only myself, but Heather Like at Pittsburgh and Diana Sabo at Utah State and Martin Jarmond at UCLA and TJ Shelton at Case Western. I mean, these are, he has personally added diversity to the industry through the environment that he created and nurtured at Ohio State. So, and Gene used to, say it a little bit tongue in cheek, but he always, when you would talk about diversifying the industry, he'd always, I think his two sayings that always resonated with me was, one, with diversity, it's the one thing we all have in common, and two, he said he's not going to talk about it. He's going to go hire it and do it.
Gene's a giant in our business. I mean, even from afar, the kind of impact that he has on college athletics. And so anytime that you can work with a great leader, you want to do that. If you aspire to be great, you want to be around greatness, and that's Gene Smith. And so everybody in our business knows that. Again, like I said, I was fortunate enough to work alongside him and for 8 years, and that was one of the most valuable experiences. Like I said, I mean, I learned a lot about being a leader, an administrator, and how to treat people, what you value, what you modeling behavior, all those things. But I learned even more from Gene about how to be a good person, a good dad, a good just care about people. His emotional intelligence is he's got the best emotional intelligence I've ever been around. He just understands. He's comfortable in his own skin. I learned that also from him, just being confident with who you are and being authentic. That's from Gene Smith.
Well, he's a pioneer, and he's a true pioneer, and he's done it, in an industry that's getting harder and harder to have the type of longevity that he's had. It's not even the length of its career. It's leading from the front for a majority of his career, and he's done it, simply by being true to his values. His integrity is unwaverable. His commitment to doing things the right way, winning with values is really what probably has helped Gene, not only endure the test of time, but garner the respect of so many people in and around college athletics. He is true to himself. He is true to his values.
That's always great. We have so many Buckeyes who reside in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, and beyond. So it's always good to come to that environment and help make those local Buckeyes proud. But Buckeyes like to travel to Arizona as well. So we usually come with great crowds, and it's just a great place to entertain and allow people to enjoy the environment. But I've had unbelievable memories. Obviously, my first year as athletic director here was kind of weird because we played Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, and we're fortunate enough to win that game. So that's my greatest memory of being an athletic director at Ohio State and competing in the Fiesta Bowl. That one I'll never forget. And just a great opportunity for our players. We've enjoyed the experience, and the hospitality's been phenomenal. And I think that's what the Fiesta Bowl is known for, is the hospitality. They set the standard for hospitality.
And I know, when Gene started his AD career, I think he was 29. He did not have the ability to look up and see people that look like him. I know, and hearing stories from him, he'd go into meeting rooms and he'd be the, AD meeting rooms, and he'd be the only person that looked like him. I mean, to be able to look up and see someone that may look like you, may sound like you, may be from the same part of the world as you, that all, gives people hope, and, hope can fuel so many things.
Representation matters. You hear it, but it's really important. I think, especially as a former student athlete, as student athletes, you don't always see people in administrative roles that look like you. Seeing someone that looks like you doing the job, it just helps you have crystallize the vision that you can do that. I mean, having someone that looks like you do it at a high level like Gene, one, it gives you something to aspire to, but it gives you a self-confidence because you've seen him do it. And that's why I have this on my desk right here. This is when I was at Ohio State with Gene, but I keep it there because of what he meant to me, and it reminds me that just like he had an impact on me, I want to have an impact on people that look like me, and student athletes and staff. That matters to people, and it's important. So I would say it just makes it easier. It makes your path easier when those guys like Gene have come before you and taken a couple challenges and a couple bullets and can help you learn from that because they've seen it all. He's been through it all.